ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। TV 84 ਦੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਕ ਤੇ ਸਰੋਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨਾਰਥ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੇ ਹੋਏ ਆ, ਮੈਂ ਅਮਰਵੀਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਅੱਜ ਇਸ ਗੁਫ਼ਤਗੂ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪ ਸਭ ਦਾ ਤਹਿ ਦਿਲੋਂ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰਦਾ। ਵਿਊਅਰਸ, ਪਿਛਲੇ ਦਿਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਵੱਡੀ ਖਬਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆਈ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਸ ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੈਂਸਸ ਹੋਣ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਮਰਦਮਸ਼ੁਮਾਰੀ ਹੋਣ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਐਥਨਿਕ ਗਰੁੱਪ ਦੇ ਵਜੋਂ ਰੈਕਗਨੀਸ਼ਨ ਮਿਲ ਗਈ ਹੈ, ਮਾਨਤਾ ਮਿਲ ਗਈ ਹੈ। ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਤੌਰ 'ਤੇ ਹੋਵੇਗੀ। ਇਹ ਮਾਣ ਵਾਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਕਿ 100 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਉੱਪਰ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿੰਦਿਆਂ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਆ, ਅਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਟਰਗਲ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੀ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਉਹ ਇਸ ਮੁਕਾਮ ਤੱਕ ਹੁਣ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਗਈ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਇੱਕ ਵੱਖਰੀ ਹੋਂਦ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਵੱਖਰੀ ਰੈਕਗਨੀਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ, ਵੱਖਰੀ ਮਾਨਤਾ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਵੱਡਾ ਇਹ ਮੀਲ ਪੱਥਰ ਹੈ ਸਿੱਖ ਕੌਮ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਕਿ ਹੁਣ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੀ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਤੌਰ 'ਤੇ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਹੋਵੇਗੀ। ਇਹਦੇ 'ਤੇ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ 10 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਵਧੇਰੇ ਹੋ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਆ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦਿਆਂ ਯੂਨਾਈਟਿਡ ਸਿੱਖਸ ਜਥੇਬੰਦੀ ਨੂੰ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਲੀਡ ਲਈ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਸਾਰੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਅਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਵੱਖ-ਵੱਖ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਾਲ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਕੈਂਪੇਨ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਸ ਬਾਬਤ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਜਾ ਸਕੇ, ਦੱਸਿਆ ਜਾ ਸਕੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇੱਕ ਵੱਖਰਾ ਕੋਡ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਦੇ ਵਜੋਂ, ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਰੇਸ ਦਾ ਅਤੇ ਐਥਨੀਸਿਟੀ ਦਾ ਕਾਲਮ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ, ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮਰਦਮਸ਼ੁਮਾਰੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕਾਲਮ ਆਪਣੀ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇਣੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਦਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਏਸ਼ੀਅਨ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਟਿਕ ਕਰਨਾ ਅਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਅਦਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਲਿਖਣਾ ਲਾਜ਼ਮੀ ਹੈ, ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਤੌਰ 'ਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਕੋਡ ਦੇ ਤਹਿਤ ਹੋ ਸਕੇਗੀ। ਫਾਰਮ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸੈਂਸਸ ਦਾ ਮਰਦਮਸ਼ੁਮਾਰੀ ਦਾ ਫਾਰਮ ਹੋਣਾ, ਉਹਦੇ 'ਤੇ ਵੱਖਰਾ ਖਾਨਾ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਣਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ, ਉਹ ਏਸ਼ੀਅਨ ਦੇ ਥੱਲੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅਦਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਕਲਿੱਕ ਕਰਕੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਲਿਖਣਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਾਜ਼ਮੀ ਹੈ। ਅਤੇ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਇੱਥੇ ਵਰਣਨਯੋਗ ਹੈ, ਦੱਸਣਯੋਗ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸੈਂਸਸ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਡਾਟਾ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਕਿਸੇ ਹੋਰ ਏਜੰਸੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਂਝਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਵੇਗਾ। ਸੈਂਸਸ ਬਿਊਰੋ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਯਕੀਨੀ ਬਣਾਈ ਗਈ ਹੈ ਲਾਅ ਦੇ ਕਾਨੂੰਨ ਦੇ ਤਹਿਤ। ਅਤੇ ਇਸ ਸੰਬੰਧੀ ਸੈਂਸਸ ਬਿਊਰੋ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ 2 ਡੈਲੀਗੇਟ ਸੀ, ਉਹ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਇਸ ਲੰਘੇ ਵੀਕਐਂਡ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਨਿਊਯਾਰਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਈਸਟ ਕੋਸਟ ਸਿੱਖ ਜਥੇਬੰਦੀਆਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਕਮੇਟੀਜ਼ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਾਹਿਬਾਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰਬੰਧਕ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਕ ਬਰੀਫਿੰਗ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ, ਵਧੇਰੇ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਹੈ, ਅਤੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਨੁਮਾਇੰਦਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਆਗੂਆਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੁਝ ਸਵਾਲ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਸੰਬੰਧੀ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਨਸਰ ਕੀਤੇ ਆ। ਸੋ ਸੈਂਸਸ ਬਿਊਰੋ ਦੇ 2 ਵੱਡੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਗੂ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਉਹ ਇੱਥੇ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਵਾਸ਼ਿੰਗਟਨ DC ਤੋਂ ਨਿਊਯਾਰਕ ਆਏ ਸੀ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਬਰੀਫਿੰਗ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਇਸ ਬਾਬਤ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹ ਬਰੀਫਿੰਗ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਅਟੈਂਡ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਕੈਮਰਾਬੰਦ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕੀਤਾ। ਸੋ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਬਰੀਫਿੰਗ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਕੁਝ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਸਵਾਲ ਵੀ ਨੇ ਅਤੇ ਵਧੇਰੇ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਵੀ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਹ ਸੈਂਸਸ ਹੋਣ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੀ ਰੂਪਰੇਖਾ ਕੀ ਹੋਵੇਗੀ, ਕਿਵੇਂ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਹੋਵੇਗੀ। ਸੋ ਵਧੇਰੇ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਬਰੀਫਿੰਗ ਦੀ ਕਵਰੇਜ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਕਚਹਿਰੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ।
So it's easy to respond to the census. We've made it even easier than before because of our movement to go online and provide many different ways for people to respond, not just a traditional receive the mail in your mailbox, fill it out with a paper and pencil and mail it back, but to be able to do it over the telephone, to be able to do it on your smartphone on the way to the office, you're on the subway, to fill it out on your computer or your local library. It's very easy to take part in the census in 2020. It's also safe and secure. Your information is protected by law. Title 13 ensures that all information provided to the census is maintained and not individually identifiable. And as I mentioned before, it's so critical. If you're not counted, you don't count. Make it that simple. You must be counted as an individual for your community to be represented and to be counted as part of the United States. Why is it so important? We've gone over these very quickly, but these are just some very high-level points to make. This is how community services at the state and local level become distributed. Whether a hospital is built or a road is built or a bridge is constructed, census data helps to inform where populations are and where those needs are and how they need to be served. Public funding decisions, legislation, all kinds of laws and everything else is written really to tie into these census counts and the distributions of the US population. Next slide. So it's important for us to be able to address and help groups that we see as hard to count, ensure that they are recognized and understand the importance of being counted. So this is where you step in as leaders of the Sikh community to help people understand why should I be counted. And so it's very, very much important for the Census Bureau to find ways to count these, quote, hard to count groups. These are individuals who may come from communities that are highly mobile, that have low income, that have non-English speakers, that have persons with non-traditional housing, multiple units in a certain location, particularly also our multicultural groups, American Indians, Asians, the Black or African American population, Hispanics, and Pacific Islanders as well. These are all important hard to count communities that have historically been undercounted in the US Census. Again, just want to reemphasize that it's safe and secure to be able to respond to the census. Title 13 of the US Code is what protects all of our responses. We're sworn by law and for life as census employees, even after you leave the Census Bureau, that you will not disclose any information, and the information cannot be used against you. It cannot be shared with any other federal agency, cannot be shared with the administration, cannot be shared with local law enforcement. We have an oath to protect the personal information. Next slide. So this is just a quick overview of where we are. We get an extra day this year, so we kind of need that extra day to ensure we can complete the census. It's February 29th, but we're a couple weeks away from the initial mailing. So March 12th through 20th is when an invitation to respond online will go out to U.S. households. Some of those households will also receive the paper questionnaire in that mailing. This is based on research the Census Bureau did over the last 10 years to determine which areas are really much harder to count and to give them the opportunity to fill out on paper from the very beginning. But for other communities, they're really encouraged to go online. It helps to save cost, to save money. It's much easier for you to receive this invitation, fill it out online, and hit submit than it is to take the paper, send it back, get it processed. It's just a very much a cost-saving measure and to make it easier for people in 2020. In late March 16th through the 24th, a reminder letter will be mailed to households if their information has not been received. And then a reminder postcard will follow after that. So there's multiple attempts that we're making to households in the country to say, please be counted, please send in the information, please help us to ensure that your community is counted. And then finally, we hit April. Census Day is April 1st. A letter and a paper questionnaire will come to those households that have still not responded. And finally, a final reminder postcard will come to you before someone is sent to knock on your door. So you have multiple opportunities to respond to the census before an enumerator will come and say, come on, please, it's time to fill this out. Let's get counted. Let's ensure that we can be there.
And nobody wants that.
And many people do not want that. So that's a very important message. If you don't want a government official coming to your door, if you don't want someone knocking at your door that you're not sure, I don't want to open the door, I'm very nervous about interacting with the government, fill it out right away and make sure that you're counted.
And also it will control those people, the scammers,
Mhm.
because you're doing yourself and you are aware of it. And if
Yes.
somebody comes on the door, knock on the door, you have already done it.
Mhm.
You know that he's a scammer.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes. And that's a really important part of the day and age that we live in,
Oh, yeah.
where there's a lot of information and misinformation out there. So it's important to share that with the community as well.
Right,
Yes.
yeah. That's true, I mean, it's very important that misinformation that's there, because as I said earlier, there were some apprehensions and all. So it's very important that, community organizations, and specifically I would suggest Himmat Singh to focus here a little bit, and, Valinder Singh, that it's important that as you are in the community rooted with other Gurdwara people who are coming in, and of course Rafi Singh Ji and others, that these apprehensions have to be removed. And so a lot of effort will be required to go to these Gurdwaras, telling the people what this is, and as Nicholas was pointing out, make it a point that they write Sikh over there at the bottom.
And the Census Bureau is also helping with misinformation. I don't know, Zakira, if you have an insight on this, but on our website, there's information about security and safety and also how to address misinformation. Do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, so we don't ask about social security number. We do not ask for bank accounts. We don't ask for if you're affiliated with a political agency. We don't ask for citizenship. So people often have think that these when they fill out, it's, or, we have in our community, there are a lot of people living in the basement, a lot of people live in the attic, we have room rentals, that they know that, that Census Bureau does not share the information with any federal, state, local agency, Department of Building, landlord sometimes who's renting the room, they might think if they participate, or landlord might not share it because they think, oh, Department of Building will know. In New York City, this is a big issue. Right, so we know that, and we want to make sure that the whoever is living in the rooms, or they're sharing, they're living in a complex housing. We have some extended family live-in. We want to make sure that everyone there we are including. If there is somebody we're renting, they will not probably receive the mail. So we want to make sure that landlord includes everyone. If they don't receive it, they can also go in and they can go to the website and just put their address on the cross street and count themselves. So if they do it their way, then we will know from Census Bureau side where it came from, and we can merge it for one household.
Yes.
This is the biggest problem,
Yep.
because even as an attorney, and even when I have a client, and even when I tell them, you're fine on whatever the issue might be,
Yes.
but it being reported outside of whatever.
It's not shared
It
with
is
anyone.
absolutely the most difficult, and this is the biggest problem with getting an accurate count, because no matter what, they're just too scared.
And often they're not going to trust my voice
Right,
or
right.
Zakira's voice.
Yeah,
but
she
they
says,
will
"Oh,
trust
no
your
one's gonna
voice
find out,"
because
but
we
they go-
represent the government. Count.
Yeah.
The trusted voices are what helps people to feel comfortable and confident that they can respond and that they
Yeah.
can be protected and have information not shared. Roberta, would you add a little bit about some of the ways that we've worked with the Middle Eastern, North African community on some of the same concerns?
Yeah, so
that
we
we're
have,
hearing?
we've also have a long history of working with the Middle Eastern and North African community, as you probably know as well. Sikh is not the only group that's going to be receiving its, own and unique code
For the
counted
first
for the
time.
first time. There'll be a lot of new Middle Eastern groups as well are going to be counted for the 2020 census as well. And so we've been, hearing the same kind of concerns about, hey, is my information going to be shared or not? Are you going to be talking to law, enforcement agencies? And it's not true. We're not have to do that. The data that we're collecting from the census is for statistical purposes only. In our country, this is how we distribute power, right? The census is in the Constitution because that's how we apportion the members of Congress among all the states. Okay, that's the number one act that we do. And then, of course, as Nicholas mentioned, all the other funding that we distribute throughout the country is based on population counts, all throughout the country. And this is how we build the infrastructure, this is how we build our country.
It's a remarkable, and I'm so
Yeah.
happy to hear that we're getting our own code. I mean,
Yes.
for the Sikh community, it's
Yes.
just an incredible
Yes.
thing for us.
Over 10 years
Yeah.
in the making.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
come
Yeah.
from the community's efforts
Yeah.
to do so.
Yeah.
So Nicholas is going to talk shortly about some of the improvements to the race question. We'll talk a little bit about that, about some improvements we've made to where it's not only the Sikh community we'll be collecting information on, but for many, many white and black communities that have never been counted in the census as well. So it wasn't designed, the question wasn't designed to do that, but now it is.
We asked the questions on race and ethnicity to help address challenges and concerns that we have here in the United States, especially since the Civil Rights Movement and beyond, so since the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. There are laws, there are measures that are in place to help us understand how we're improving or how we're not improving conditions for various communities in the United States. But it goes back much, much further than that to 1790. The first census in the United States had information that was on essentially race. So these are the categories that we use, and one important point that we want to make today and make sure that you all go away from this conversation, there are many ways in which we publish data on race and on ethnicity. The major categories that we use are rooted in the federal government's definitions, not the Census Bureau's definitions, but ethnicity and race as concepts and as categories generally are seen in these larger conceptual groupings. Hispanics, non-Hispanics, American Indians or Alaska Natives, Asians, the Black or African American population, the Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander population, and the white population. Since 2000, we've allowed individuals to self-identify with being multiple races. So I can say that I'm black and white, or white and Asian, or American Indian, black, Asian, and Pacific Islander. But the concepts of ethnicity and race have been held separate. So someone can be Hispanic and of any race. Someone can be not Hispanic and of any race as well. These are the standards that we follow. We do know and recognize that they have been challenged. The Census Bureau doesn't create these standards, but we very much well recognize that they're problematic for many communities. And we'll talk about some of that today as well. So again, we wanted to just point these definitions out because this is the basis in which the Census Bureau determines how to code, classify, and then tabulate detailed responses. So for the major categories that you see, those are quite often the most important ways in which data is provided. The public law redistricting file, which is used for voting rights, has the various combinations of all of these major categories. It does not consider detailed information in terms of distributing the counts, but the detailed information feed into how these groups are aggregated. So a response of Sikh, or a response of Japanese, or a response of Asian Indian, all being detailed Asian groups, count to the tabulation of Asian as an entire aggregate category. A response of German, a response of Lebanese, a response of Egyptian, again defined by OMB as being part of the Europe, Middle East, or North Africa, are credited towards the count for white. But we have many other data tables that we've historically produced that provide the granular data. The difference for 2020 is that for the first time, granular data will be available for the white population and for the black population. It's never been available before. Information has only traditionally been produced for American Indians, Asians, Hispanics, and Pacific Islanders. So in terms of the question design, if you can click through, we have questions, again, that follow the 1997 OMB standards for race and ethnicity. The Census Bureau did a lot of testing over the last decade on what we call a combined question, where race and Hispanic origin were all part of one larger question, and everyone essentially had a checkbox, examples, write-ins, and detailed information that could be collected in an equitable manner. The standards require two separate questions, one on ethnicity and one on race. Some respondents find this to be very problematic. I've answered the question on Hispanic origin. I told you I was Salvadoran. Why are you now asking me what my race is, but I can't say Salvadoran? Or, why do Hispanics get their own question, but everyone else is placed over here and they have to fit in somewhere somehow? That's why we tested and found that the combined question approach was very much appreciated and used and embraced. I know the United Sikh community wrote letters of support for that research, and also that was part of our work to really show how we're working to improve for 2020. On the next slide, we talk about some of the ways in which the Pacific Islander and Asian populations can self-identify, and we'll get into this in relation to Sikh. So in the past, Asian Indian as a checkbox has been marked, but also write-ins that were equated to being Asian Indian, including Sikh in previous censuses, were tabulated as part of that category. What's new for 2020 is that a write-in, if you can go to the next slide, a write-in in this area or any area, again, we cannot tell individuals how to self-identify, but if you as an individual report Sikh in the other Asian category, that will be collected and coded and classified for the first time. You could also report it under some other race, or next to white, or next to black. Depending on what else you check, that's how we determine how you've self-identified. But most Sikh respondents, we imagine and expect from conversations with all of you, will use this category, other Asian, and write in Sikh there. Again, you do not have to check the box, but you have to write something in order for it to turn into data. So solely checking Chinese will only mean that you're Chinese. If you only check Asian Indian, you're only marked as Asian Indian. So in order to be counted as Sikh, you must write it in on the form. You can write in additional information, and again, we'll collect and code and classify that. So the next slide.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Like all Chinese, Philippines, Asian Indian, and others,
Mm-hmm.
so what is, why is the apprehension that we don't have Sikh as a column over here, as a box?
As a box?
Yeah.
So research has been done over the last decade to decide how and what categories would be shown. Again, I mentioned before that we did about a decade's worth of work to use a combined question approach. That approach tested many categories within each of the major groupings. So we had checkboxes for German, for Irish, for Jamaican. We had checkboxes for the detailed Pacific Islander groups and Asian groups. They generally represented the largest populations in the United States, and we cannot have a checkbox for every category. which is why we use the dedicated write-ins and examples to collect those information. But we did not specifically test having a Sikh category. We did not specifically test having a Armenian category or a Sudanese category. We don't have categories for every country in the world or every nationality in the world. But for the most part, in the designs where we had checkbox groups for some of the largest groups, they really were in the United States representing the largest populations. If anyone here today were to ask me, how should I respond to the form? I'm going to say you should identify how you self-identify on the form. What Roberto and I will explain to you is if I do it in a certain way, how will that be coded? But we will not tell you what to mark. We won't explain what heritage you should write in. Leaders and communities are explaining to their members how they would like to ensure that they will be written in. And people will follow that, and others may. I'm thinking for myself, I'll do it how I want. But if you want to share with the Sikh community how they should respond, you should ensure that they understand how that turns into data. So, for example, reporting code 4275 is not going to turn into Sikh. Reporting the word Sikh on any of these lines will be counted and coded and classified and tabulated as Sikh. It doesn't matter where it's written. It doesn't matter what other boxes are marked or not marked, but the word itself must be written on the form.
In the other section, right? In the other.
No, see, that's the point.
Okay.
It can be anywhere.
Any write-in line.
Anywhere. But if you as a community would like to say, let's ensure that we check other Asian and write in Sikh, maybe that's the most logical way for someone to report it. But you do not have to write it in. If you don't mind going back to the Form 1, you do not have to write it here. You could write it here. Just because you write Sikh here does not mean it's white. The only reason that Sikh would be counted in addition to white is if you tick that box or write in the word white.
You have to check the box.
You have to check the box. See, a lot of people, when they encounter a form like this question, they use the first available space that's there.
Right.
ਸਾਦਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਰੇਸ ਦੇ ਬਾਕਸ ਦੇ ਥੱਲੇ ਅਦਰ ਸੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਹੋਏਗਾ, ਉੱਥੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਲਿਖਣਾ ਲਫ਼ਜ਼ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ, ਉੱਥੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਅਸੀਂ ਲਿਖਣਾ ਸਪੈਲ ਆਊਟ ਕਰਕੇ ਅੰਡਰ ਦ ਰੇਸ ਅਕੋਰਡਿੰਗ ਟੂ ਦ ਰੂਲਸ ਐਂਡ ਰੈਗੂਲੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਯੂਐਸ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਰਿਲੀਜਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੁੱਛ ਸਕਦੇ, ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਰੇਸ ਦੇ ਅੰਡਰ ਸਿੱਖ ਲਿਖਣਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਜਾਣਨਾ।
ਤੇ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਕੁ ਵਧੀਆ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਬੜੇ ਲੰਮੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਤੋਂ ਇਸ ਮੁਲਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵੱਖਰੀ ਪਹਿਚਾਣ ਦੀ ਲੜਾਈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹ ਲੜ ਰਹੇ ਸਾਂ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਇਸ ਵਾਰੀ ਸੈਂਸਸ ਨੇ ਹੀ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ, ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਭਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਗਏ ਨੇ। ਕੀ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੋਗੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੈਂਸਸ ਦਾ, ਕਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ?
ਸੈਂਸਸ ਦਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਤਹਿ ਦਿਲੋਂ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਕੌਮ ਦੀ ਬਾਂਹ ਫੜੀ ਅਤੇ ਸਾਡਾ ਫਿਊਚਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਭਵਿੱਖ ਹੈ ਅੱਗੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਡਿਵੈਲਪ ਕਰਨ 'ਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਇਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਮਦਦ ਸਾਡੀ ਹੋਏਗੀ ਅੱਗੇ। ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਅਸੀਂ ਸੈਂਸਸ ਦਾ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਬਾਂਹ ਫੜੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਕੌਮ ਦੀ, ਅਤੇ ਸਾਡਾ ਅਗਲਾ ਭਵਿੱਖ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸੁਰੱਖਿਅਤ ਰੱਖਣ 'ਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਅਹਿਮ ਕਦਮ ਇਹ ਵਾਲਾ ਚੁੱਕਿਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ। ਐਂਡ ਦ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਆਲਸੋ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਕਵਰ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਅਤੇ ਇਟਸ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਫॉर ਸਿੱਖਸ ਟੂ ਕਮ ਆਊਟ ਐਂਡ take participation in the census, very important.
From Census Bureau, as a representative, I want to mention that it's very important that we count everyone, all the Sikhs community. We are working very closely with the United Sikhs to make sure that all of the Sikhs are counted. $675 billion of annually gets funded to the states, and we need that funding to come to our community. The Sikh community where the children go to school, it comes to our schools, our hospitals, fixing our infrastructures, and our religious organizations also, there are services provided by the religious organizations, social services that also receives funding from the census number. So it's very important that Sikh community get counted. We want to count everyone only once and in the right places. Yeah, we want the community leaders to come together. They're the trusted voice of the community, and produce materials in language that it will be easier for people to understand, and they can tailor the message that is understandable by the community. Also, Also, we are hiring people on the local level. In New York City, we are paying $28 an hour. These are flexible jobs. You work in your own community, and we are looking for people who speak specific language, so it will be easier for people to respond to the census. And we want community's participation when our enumerators go door to door to count population. We want to encourage our leaders to encourage the community to help our enumerators collect the proper information.
I would like to thank the Census Bureau team that's over here. We have Nicholas and Roberto right over here who came down, and we also had Zakira here for coming down from the New York City office. So we're glad that they're here and met the community leaders to talk about, the value and the changes specifically that have been brought in this year. And specifically when we are writing the word Sikh now, where the Sikhs are going to be accounted for the first time as a separate ethno group. Of course, Sikhism is also a religion, but they will be accounted as a race, as an ethno group. So we request everyone, the Sikhs specifically, who are looking at the message, reading this, they should actually be able to, write the word Sikh, in the other section, and that's how they'll be counted as, as a separate ethnic group. And the advantages of those are numerous. You can go to the census.gov website, you can read over there, but in short, I can say that the appropriation of the different congressmen will be based on the counting. And also, specific needs for the communities, different communities, will also be accounted for. For example, the funding for the different libraries, for the schools, and for the other aspects that are required for any community will come in based on the counting that's going to happen. So we ask everyone again and again to make sure that they're counted as Sikhs,
ਸਰਦਾਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਮੇਰਾ ਇੱਕ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਹੈਗਾ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਇਹਦਾ ਰਿਪਲਾਈ ਦੇਣ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਿਓ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਮਿਸਕਮਿਊਨੀਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਬਾਕਸ ਲਗਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਸਿਕਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਬਾਕਸ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਹੁਣ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅਸਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਲੀਅਰ ਹੋਇਆ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਫਾਰਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਪੈਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਾਂ ਟਾਈਪ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਸਿੱਖ ਲਿਖਣਾ ਪਵੇਗਾ ਸੋ ਕੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੋਗੇ ਕਿ ਕਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋਕ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਸੈਂਸਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਭਾਗ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਉਹ ਆਪਣਾ ਫਿਊਚਰ ਕਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਖਰਾਬ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਐਤਕੀ ਹੁਣ ਜਿਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਕਾਊਂਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਔਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਿੱਖ ਲਿਖਣਾ ਪੈਣਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਅਦਰ ਸੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਟਿਕ ਮਾਰਕ ਮਾਰ ਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਥੱਲੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬਾਕਸ ਬਣੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਲਿਖੋਗੇ ਸਿੱਖ SIKH ਤੇ ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਕੌਮ ਦੀ ਕਰਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਉਹਦਾ ਕਾਰਨ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਫੰਡਿੰਗ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਸਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ US ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਦਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਹੋਰ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਔਰਫਨੇਜਸ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਧਾਰਮਿਕ ਸੰਸਥਾਵਾਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਗਰੋਥ ਡਿਵੈਲਪਮੈਂਟ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਜਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਹੋਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਿਵਿਕ ਨੇਚਰ ਦੇ ਜੋ ਐਟਰੀਬਿਊਟਸ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਜੋ ਰਿਸੋਰਸਿਸ ਐਲੋਕੇਟ ਕਰਨੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਹੋਣਗੇ ਜੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਹੋਏਗੀ ਜੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਘੱਟ ਹੈ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਹੇਟ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਬੁਲਿੰਗ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡਾ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਹੈ ਯੂਨਾਈਟਿਡ ਸਟੇਟਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰਿਸੋਰਸਿਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਐਲੋਕੇਟ ਹੋਣੇ ਨੇ ਸਕੂਲਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਉਹ ਬੇਸਡ ਔਨ ਅਕਾਊਂਟਿੰਗ ਹੋਣਗੇ ਹੁਣ ਜੇ ਸਾਡਾ ਨੰਬਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਘੱਟ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਗਿਣਿਆ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਅਤੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਕਿਸੇ ਹੋਰ ਕੌਮ ਦੇ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਟੀਚਰਸ ਉੱਥੇ ਹਾਇਰ ਕੀਤੇ ਜਾਣਗੇ ਪ੍ਰੈਫਰੈਂਸ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਜਾਏਗੀ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਉਸ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੀ ਭਾਸ਼ਾ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਹੋਣ ਉਸ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੇ ਕਲਚਰ ਤੋਂ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਹੋਣ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਏ ਕਿ ਬੱਚੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਕੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮਸ ਨੇ ਹੁਣ ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਅਗਰ ਐਜ਼ ਅ ਸਿੱਖ ਕਾਊਂਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜਿਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਟੀਚਰ ਸਿਲੈਕਟ ਕੀਤੇ ਜਾਣਗੇ ਦੇਰ ਇਜ਼ ਅ ਗੁੱਡ ਚਾਂਸ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਜੇ ਨੰਬਰ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਉਹ ਮੇਕ ਸ਼ੋਰ ਕਰਨਗੇ ਜੇ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਵੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਤਾਂ ਟੀਚਰ ਉਸ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੇ ਸਿਲੈਕਟ ਕੀਤੇ ਜਾਣ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਲੈਂਗੁਏਜ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਹੋਣ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਲਚਰ ਨੂੰ ਸਮਝਦੇ ਹੋਣ ਔਰ ਉਸ ਮੁਤਾਬਿਕ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਵਾਬ ਦੇ ਸਕਣ ਹੁਣ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਗਰੋ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਮੁਲਕ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਪਰਸਨੈਲਿਟੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਚੰਗੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਡਿਵੈਲਪ ਹੋ ਸਕਣ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ 'ਤੇ ਮਾਨਸਿਕ ਦਬਾਅ ਨਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਕਿਸਮ ਦਾ ਹੋ ਸਕੇ ਜੇ ਹੇਟ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਹੈ ਜੇ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਹੇਟ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਹੋ ਏਸ਼ੀਅਨ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਪੈਰੇਟਿਵਲੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਜੋ ਦਸਤਾਰ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਦਾੜੀ ਦੇ ਕਾਰਨ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਾਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਾਰਨ ਹੇਟ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਡੇ ਟਾਰਗੇਟਸ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਅਦਰ ਦੈਨ ਦੀ ਅਦਰ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਟਾਰਗੇਟ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਔਰ ਅਫਕੋਰਸ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਗਲਤ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਕਿਸੇ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਲੇਕਿਨ ਹੁਣ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰਿਸੋਰਸਿਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅਕਾਊਂਟ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੀ ਜੋ ਕੈਟੇਗਰੀ ਉਹ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਮੰਨੀ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਬਈ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੇਟ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੁਣ ਇਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਚਾਂਸਿਸ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਜਿੰਨੇ FBI ਦੇ ਫਾਰਮਸ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ NYPD ਦੇ ਫਾਰਮਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੋਰ ਫਾਰਮਸ ਨੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਵੈਸੇ ਵੱਖਰੀ ਮੁਹਿੰਮਾਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਨੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕਿ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੀ ਕੈਟਾਗਰੀ ਲਿਖੀ ਜਾਏ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੋਈ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਲਿਖ ਸਕੋ ਮੈਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਹਾਂ, ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈ। ਲੇਕਿਨ ਹੁਣ ਸੈਂਸਸ ਦੇ ਇਹ ਫਾਰਮ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਅਕਾਊਂਟਿੰਗ ਹੋਣ ਨਾਲ ਹੋਰ ਰਿਸੋਰਸਿਸ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਜਾਣਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਫਾਰਮਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਨ ਪਾਰਟਿਕੂਲਰ ਫੰਡਿੰਗ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਜਾਏ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੀ ਜੋ ਕੈਟਾਗਰੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਮੈਂਸ਼ਨ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਏ।
Hi, my name is Nicholas Jones. I'm the Director of Race and Ethnic Research and Outreach in our Census Bureau's Population Division, and I'm here today talking with members of the Sikh community in New York. We came to New York to talk with them and talk about the census, the importance of being counted in the 2020 census, and particularly what's new for the Sikh community in the United States. Based on over a decade's worth of outreach and research and collaboration with Sikh leaders and Sikh communities, the Census Bureau has identified for the first time the ability to provide a unique code for the Sikh population to be counted in the 2020 census, to be tabulated as a specific population in the United States, and that only happens when members of the community self-identify on the question on race by reporting that they are Sikh. That's such an important way for them to be counted and to be accurately tabulated as a population in the United States Census. So we hope you will take part in 2020 and ensure that you're counted for your community as Sikh. So as part of the next month, the March of 2020, individuals are going to be receiving contacts through their household via the mail to motivate and be counted in the 2020 census. We have partnership specialists who are working throughout the country with Sikh community leaders to help them understand the importance of being counted, to provide materials, to provide information, so that they can understand how to spread the word with their community to be counted as Sikh in the United States Census. So please go to 2020census.gov, find out that information for yourself, and work with your Sikh community leaders to understand how you can easily, safely, and accurately respond to the census in 2020.